Okay, let's watch this, you guys, and you're gonna get my live reaction to this. Let me back it up, back it up.
Oklahoma man facing nearly 8 decades in prison for the brutal sexual and physical abuse of two teenagers is instead walking free. 18-year-old Jesse Butler admitted to committing these horrific crimes against his two former girlfriends while he was also still a.
Cause she's about to say why he was also a minor. I give a shit. I have to be honest. I don't care. Even with her even stating that, it makes me more fearful, right? Because he was a minor. And so I think he was 17 and then now he's 18. But I wanted to watch this video because as growing up, I lived in Oklahoma and I know how close knit Stillwater, Oklahoma is and the dynamics of everything because I believe some of his people or one of his people is a judge or something like that. I think like his dad is I don't know sports. So sorry you guys. I don't know sports. Is on he works for some athletic team and football is very big in Oklahoma. I mean it's big in the United States, but it's big in Oklahoma. Okay.
Minor. He pleaded no contest to his 10 felony charges. This is body cam video of his arrest that was just released, where his mother calls the arrest of her son, quote, an awful experience for a child.
An awful experience for a child. Hmm. Hmm. But taking into consideration what those two girls went through. And word on the curb is, okay, let's be very for real. Word on the curb is the mom heard one of the SA, yeah, one of the SAs. She knocked on the door and he answered because, he was, so he couldn't, the girl couldn't answer. I'm pretty sure she was trying to catch her breath.
Right now, you do have to come with us, and I do have to put you in handcuffs. So turn around for me.
Did this bitch just say, do you have to put him in handcuffs? He's a mother criminal. Yes. You're going in handcuffs. You a big boy. You a big boy. You good. You good. You like to sit there and okay.
Dad's on his way. We're coming to get you, okay? Stay strong, okay? Say your prayers.
An awful experience. If this bitch keeps saying that when excuse me, these girls, that has changed their outlook on life forever. But because he was held accountable for some shit that he did, it's an awful experience. I'm trying to not stop it, y'all. I'm trying to let it play through.
Well, protests have erupted.
Look at
Outrage
the girl.
for Butler's victims.
Sorry, y'all.
Butler was initially
I don't know
charged
what.
as
Let me
an
take this off.
adult, but in a stunning turn of events, that sentence was reverted back.
Look at her neck. The doctor told her if it was 30 seconds more, she would have been out of here. She would have been out of her. Look, do you know how strong and how much, I don't know what is wrong with him, you have to be to do that to someone. This is not a child, okay? This is she's a teenager, right? So, but you have to be really strong. Like I've been in surgery, and if you know anything about surgery, especially orthopedic surgery, it's brutal. It is like brutal. It's like pick up some stuff from Home Depot. It's brutal. And yeah, but you don't have strong and something is not right mentally with him. He need help.
Being considered a so-called youthful offender because it happened while he was under the age of 18. So that means, in spite of his 78-year prison sentence, he is walking free, tasked with completing community service, counseling. He has a curfew. But by his next birthday, he could have his entire criminal record expunged, meaning he will never have to register as a sex offender. So
Dangerous.
here to break it down, I'd like to welcome in Oklahoma attorney James Worth. James, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. This sounds pretty unbelievable. There have been massive protests there in Oklahoma, after a judge allowed Butler to avoid
It is
that 78
bad.
years in prison. Explain what happened here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about how the system works. Anytime we're talking about charging a minor of a crime when they were a minor at the time they committed it,
Okay.
there's protections for that individual as well as protections for the victim and the public at large. The first interesting thing here regarding some concerns that maybe that there was a sweet deal that was done is that the prosecutor under Oklahoma law, this is the only offense, is rape in the first degree is the only offense where the prosecutor can decide whether to initially charge it as an adult or as a youthful offender. And in this case, they did decide to initially charge it as an adult. But that does give the defendant the right then to file for what we call reverse certification to be treated as either a youthful offender or as a juvenile. And they filed that motion. At that point, they can request a report that a youthful offender study is done. As part of that, there's a psychological evaluation, and there's 6 different factors that they look into when the court decides, based on Oklahoma law, whether they should be treated as a youthful offender or not. And that's based on the age and maturity of the defendant, the nature and the seriousness of the crime.
This is a serious crime. It wasn't just one young lady, it was 2. And I don't know when he started dating. And usually what happens is when people are SA'd, a lot of people don't report. There is a level of shame. And it shouldn't be. It should be shame on the person who attacked you, but it's a level of shame that's attacked. We've definitely seen women, and I'll say women or just people, they've definitely been drugged in court. Every sexual encounter, what were you wearing? What did you smell like? Just were you drinking? Were you not? Were you high? So it's a level of shame that's attached to it, which it definitely shouldn't be because you didn't do anything wrong. But his fat ass, and yeah, I said it. It is what it is. Hell, I'm not a skinny person, so his fat ass, he needs to go to jail. Something is truly wrong with him. Stop covering up for these psycho people. What he did is not normal and it will get worse.
Prior record history of the defendant, the home environment and social background, the amenability to rehabilitation. That is a big one. If they find that the defendant, the minor, is not going to be amenable to treatment, not going to be something that they can benefit from, they can resolve the concerns, then they're not going to be a good candidate for youthful offender.
It doesn't seem as if his parents, or at least his mama, holds him accountable, which is a problem because everything he does is going to be always an excuse for his bad behavior. This is beyond bad behavior. This is dangerous. He could have unalived that girl. From my understanding, people are really outraged in Oklahoma. Pardon me. And they are letting their voices be heard on this.
Program. And lastly, and most importantly perhaps, is public safety. They do look into public safety and whether they believe that treatment with the Office of Juvenile Affairs.
Does anybody know what type of treatment that they get and is it helpful? Because from the research that I have done regarding people who SA people, rather it be kids or adults, teenagers, what have you, I thought there was no rehab for them, right? Because even if you, for men, right, castrate them, from my understanding, they just find other ways to do things. That was my understanding from it. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know, but I thought there was no rehab for them at all. This is 2 girls, 2 girls, and I remember the mom even saying they haven't heard our story. Bitch, there's no story. We don't need to hear your story because anything you say out of your mouth is bullshit. Now I know you're supposed to love your babies unconditionally. And I get that. But, and you can still love your children and they can be held accountable. Two things can exist at the same time.
And going through a program there is going to protect the public sufficiently. Obviously, there's a lot of facts in this case that are not available to the public. We don't have the youthful offender study. We don't have the psychological evaluation. We don't have all the police reports. The people that do have all of that information would be the defense, the prosecutor, the judge, and the.
I mean, look at the counts by instrumentation. Forcible and bad. 2 counts. One. So you just like to beat up on people. Okay, push your T. Push your T. Okay. Okay. You're going to push up on the wrong person.
Office of Juvenile Affairs. And they're the ones that went in there and they actually came to an agreement in this case. And we don't necessarily know why, but this occurred back in July, way before there was any outrage, way before there was any 78-year sentence. This occurred all before that on the motion to certify as a youthful offender. There was an agreement between the prosecutor and the defense that was accepted by the judge based on the report from OJA.
And you know how that went. Hey, so and so, my little friend, and got in trouble. And listen, he's a good boy. Those girls were, you know how they work. Those girls were blah blah blah. They weren't they had a reputation. They shouldn't have been dating them anyways. I heard about Susie Q. You know how that went.
This defendant should be treated as a youthful offender. Subsequently, and as normally done in a youthful offender case, you've got 2 different potential sentences. You've got the adult.
For me, lock his ass up. Lock him up. Lock his ass up. And I feel like you better be careful. You better be careful in prison. Put him in general pop. Because how you treated them is how some of those men will treat you. Yeah, and you're not gonna like that. Not at all. You're gonna feel like those girls did. You're not gonna like it.
Sentence if they don't properly complete the program, in which case they can be blended into an adult sentence or bridged to an adult sentence. That's the 78 years here. But I want to make sure everybody understands that 78-year sentence was determined already knowing that he was going to be treated as a youthful offender. Generally, that's done as to have a huge, heavy sentence hanging over his head to put him in a position where he must be fully compliant, that he knows the seriousness of it. And again, that's regarding all youthful offenders, not necessarily this case. So that the consequences are there. And if he screws up, does not complete it, or even if he does things well, but the court ultimately determines when the juvenile charge of the youthful offender loses jurisdiction before the age of 19, at that point they have to decide whether he's going to be bridged into that adult sentence of the
18 now.
So all right. So James, with that 78-year sentence, though, is it possible that?
So what I got from the whole thing is I feel like there has been no accountability on his part. No, it seems like there was no remorse shown on his part or his family, right? It's even listen, you didn't hear this from me, but it's even said that while the victims were given their statements while in court, that the sister, and I think was a sister, stepsister, can't remember, she was laughing. Let me tell you something about that mouth and about actions that you do. You have to be very, very careful with stuff like that because you're laughing right now and you don't know what can happen to you. I'm not wishing it on her or anything like that, but you have to be careful. Like, I don't try to put out bad nothing. That's not what I do. So I would love to hear you guys' comments, questions, concerns. What do you think about me doing like the live reactive or reaction videos? This one, like I said, was near and dear to my heart because I have people that I love. I have nieces that are, that do live in Oklahoma. And now we ain't doing this. We're not gonna be cordial with you. That ain't how we do stuff. We're not cordial like that. I think he deserves more time because it's just like someone who is a flasher, right? Somebody who likes to flash. But after a while, that's not good enough. And so they have to do more things. So then it goes to touching, and then it goes to more. So you have to nip that shit in the bud real fast. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe. I'm going to do some more reaction videos. And I love you guys. Bye, bye, bye.